Hello, everyone. We want to thank you guys for tuning in to another wonderful episode of our hit show, You Thrive Every Day. I am your host, April Bassetti, AP, America's favorite life coach. I am the owner and founder of You Thrive Coaching. So what we do here at You Thrive Every Day is we talk about how our thrivers thrive. A lot of people want to thrive and they want to be excited about life and living. They just don't know how to get there from where they are. So we have individuals who are brave enough to come and tell their story through triumphs, through these dark moments, and how they thrive. So today I have a very, very, very special guest. Dun, dun, dun. Miss Ahnaise, introduce yourself. Give us your title. You know, your name, what you like to be called, where you're born, and then where you're at right now.
Okay, my name is Ahnaise Christmas. I go by that. That's pretty good. I don't have any nicknames anymore. I used to have one that April knows, but I don't really go by that anymore. I'm from Los Angeles originally. Spent a lot of time in San Diego growing up, but I'm back in LA now. And what was the other question?
Oh, so you live in LA now?
I'm back
You're
in
from
LA
LA
now, yes.
and you live in LA now?
Yes, I am.
Okay, cool. So what I like to do is start off with everyone's childhood because everyone has a colorful background. So tell me, were you raised in a household with both parents, one parent, a grandma? How did that go?
I was raised in my grandparents' home with my father. So technically, I was with my dad until I was about 12. But I say my grandparents raised me up until that age. My mother wasn't in the home. And then when I was about 13, I did end up moving with her to live with my mom until I was grown. So not traditional at all, but
so your grandparents, you and your grandparents and your father were in the same home until you were 12, and that was in Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay, and so how was that?
It was
a lot
really
of times
interesting.
It's the mother that's raising. Yeah.
Right.
So how was that?
Well, my mom was addicted to drugs for most of her life, all of mine, pretty much. So that, of course, caused a little bit of an issue with her being able to be present raising children. So it made it very, of course, difficult, as a child growing up, not seeing my mom going long periods of time, not seeing her and whatnot. But I think the benefit of it was, I wasn't in a negative environment whatsoever. You know what I mean? I know if I was with my mom at that young age, who knows, what things I would have been exposed to. So I was very blessed that my grandmother, really was the one that was like, no, I'm going to take her. We're going to keep her and raise her here with us. So also in the household, I had an aunt who had cerebral palsy. So that was another part of my childhood that I feel really helped me be the woman that I am, because I did grow up with a person who had mental and physical disabilities. And being a kid, you sometimes you understand that and sometimes you don't. But I really know, like, now as an adult, it really did help me with my sensitivity, and just understanding that everybody is different and things like that. So, yeah, I
So
I
were you
feel
a part of her care?
Honestly, she was very independent up until the end of her life. She lived into her 50s. And so I want to say not until maybe in her late 40s did she become dependent on someone that she needed to have, any kind of care. Because, honey, my auntie Sandra, please, of course you could tell she had a disability and she was a little bit slower as far as her mental capacity, but no, she was she was one of those, you're like, oh yeah, she might have problems, but don't let her fool you, because she's right there with us. So yeah, by no means she was like my aunt. She was just my aunt that had some challenges, but we had our little moments, and and where she's being the auntie, you know what I mean? And I'm in
Exactly.
trouble, and she telling me, you know, and here she is. She has these handicaps, but please, that didn't stop her from being who she was.
Okay, cool. So you weren't
Yeah.
responsible for her care or anything like that. So what
No, no,
about
no,
your
no.
father? Was he working? Was he in and out of the house?
He was working. Not ever. He never left his mom's house. Actually, um, he definitely worked always. Though he was never just like a layabout. He always did have a job. I always remembered that. Very much into his own life, though. He was young when I was born. I think he was 22 or 23 when I came around. Came along. So, and he's the baby of her children, of my grandparents' children. So he wasn't ready to be anybody's dad, and since everything kind of happened the way it did, and my grandmother pretty much took the lead on raising me, he didn't really have to, you know what I'm saying? So, we at this point we have a good relationship, but I don't, it's hard to be like, oh, my father, because he didn't actually have like a strong hand in raising me, but he was present, and he wasn't a negative thing, but he's not the traditional father either.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and so was your grandfather around?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, he was there. They were married for 47 years before he passed. So he was there. He worked. Very strong example of a man. Real relaxed kind of guy. So just the calm, in the house. Like my grandmother pretty much ran the house. You know how that goes. Kind of a traditional Southern couple. She took care of the house, the kids, and all that stuff. But he worked. And if there was a problem, he was the strength, and stuff like that. So
So your
I have
daddy
a good
was
relationship
spoiled.
with him. Girl, still is, still to this very day.
I'm like, he was
Yes.
spoiled. Now I'm getting the
Yeah.
picture. I'm
Oh
getting the
yeah.
picture. Okay,
Hmm.
so at 12 years old, we relocate, right?
At 12, and let me back up. So actually, I did live with my mom for a year in San
Okay.
Jose when I was 11, from 10. So like from 10 to 11, I did live with her in San Jose, but that didn't work out. She ended up going to jail, and I ended up moving back to my grandparents. So then at 13 is when I moved to San Diego
And how
again to
was
like
your
to like let's try it
grandmother?
again.
How did your grandmother feel about that? Was she cool to let you go? Was she like, this is something I have to do because that's her mama?
Right. You hit it on the head, because pretty much, I mean, she'd had me my whole life up until
You
that
was her
point.
baby.
I was
Yeah.
her literally. So with that being said, and then even if not, as knowing the situation and knowing my mom's history, sending any child, even if I was not her grandchild, you would worry. You would be like, okay, are you sure you're going to be able to handle it? Dot, dot, dot. So that first time was from now I understand it was challenging. As a kid, I didn't know. It was just like, okay, well, you're going to go live with your mom. And I was like, yay, all excited. But knowing the backstory is like, it took a lot for my grandmother to say yes. And then, of course, what happened a year later, and here I am coming back. So, it was difficult, but I think that my grandmother always knew that I needed to be with my mom. Like it was something inside of me. And I think any child, when you're not with your parent, like you long for them, so I don't think she would have stood in the way of that. Like if my mom was showing any kind of progress, like, okay, I'm doing better, I'm got myself together, because that's what it was. Because when I did move to San Jose, she did. She had a place, she was working, doing really good, but things happened. So it took her seeing that to let me go. She wasn't just like, oh, come get your kid, no. She definitely, it was hard. It was hard for her.
So then your mom goes to jail. You go back to
Mm-hmm.
LA. And
Go
then
back to
so at
LA.
what point did you get back with her?
It would have been about a year and a half, 2 years later. She
And how
relocated. She got out of jail. She relocated to San Diego, and got herself situated there. And once again, was like, I want to have my baby with me. Mind you, I'm the youngest. There's my sister and my brother, so she didn't have them raising them really. So she was trying to really, that last kid, like, okay, let me really try to get back with her if I can, and I'm getting older and older at that point. So she's really trying to like get her time in if she can. So, she did what she had to do and got herself situated. And once again, I came to live with her in San Diego. And I was very excited. That's something else too, is even though I knew she was messed up, like even as a little kid, like I knew my mom wasn't like other moms. I knew drugs, I knew what drugs were, I knew all of that. So I understood, like, okay, she got problems or whatever, but I always was like, dang, I want to be with my mom. I wish I could live with my mom, even though I knew, it was probably not the best, but I wanted to be with her. So getting to go live with her at 13 was like everything to me. Even though I didn't know what was going to happen since I had my prior experience, I still was like, it don't even matter. Like, I'm gone. Let's do it. Like, I'm about to be with my mom. It's cool. Yeah. So.
And so who was raising your siblings?
Various that, well, my brother's dad raised him. So he went to live with his actual biological father, I think maybe by the age of 2 or 3 or so, where he was like living with his father. So his father and his stepmom raised him. My sister was with various family members, up until her teenage years. And then she kind of went off on her own, did her own thing. But yeah, like she doesn't have her biological father in her life, so she didn't have like another side of the family. It was just my mom's. And we all families got issues. So they may have not all been the best caretakers for her, so she may have had it slightly rougher than I or my brother did, because of the situation with my mom.
And so
But
at that age, were you in contact with your siblings?
very seldomly. Like, I would just see them randomly. If I was, maybe, let's say my mom did come get me or something for the weekend, I may see them, you know what I mean, randomly. And because she may have gotten them too, or something like that. But it would be, months, a year could go by and I wouldn't see them, and or even communicate like on the phone, not as a kid. Because like I said, I was with my father's side of the family, and, there wasn't a lot of interaction between the two families. So I didn't really see them. It wasn't until my teenage years, like about 16, 17, that my sister and I really started to become like, okay, let's build a relationship and, try to be closer. She stayed with us in San Diego for like the summer when I was 14. She came to like visit or whatever. But that didn't technically, to me, it wasn't a good visit. We did not bond. It actually made us kind of like goes the opposite directions. And it wasn't until I was 16 or 17 that, okay, we kind of came together. And it's kind of been like that since. And our relationship has been a little bit strained. I don't know if it's all about my mom and all about us not being raised together. If it has everything to do with that, or if it has some to do with just being different, personality differences and whatnot, and seeing the world differently. You know what I mean? Like, if that has something to do with it too. My brother, we, same thing, could go a long time without seeing each other. And it wasn't until, adults that we kind of like, hey, trying to keep up with each other, and even with the family in general, just us really trying to stay together, and first cousins and all of us hanging out and stuff like that. But that didn't really happen when we were kids. It was very sporadic, so.
Right. So did that affect you coming up, or was it kind of like your normalcy? So you didn't really know like to miss your siblings because
Right.
this is just your
They were
norm.
never there. Right.
Or
I was
was
just
it like my siblings, I long for them?
You know what? No, I know, because like I said, I was in a very loving home. I was in a loving environment. My grandmother was a very loving woman. And I had first cousins that we saw often on that side. So I never felt like by myself, even though I was I was the only child in the home, all adults for the most part. But I had friends and I had my neighbors outside. And this back in the 90s, we still played outside. So I played with all the neighbor kids and stuff like that. So I didn't feel like, oh, I don't have nobody. I wish I had not like that. Not till I got older. Like I said, teenager was like, oh, dang, I got a sister, but I'm not close to her. Then those thoughts kind of started to come up. But,
And what's the age difference? Like, what's the age gap between you guys?
My brother is 10 years older than me. And then I think she's either 5 or 6 years, like
Oh,
five and a
okay. So
half.
that's quite a few years. So
Yeah,
I could
right.
understand the kind of detachment there, because me and my sister are 6 years apart. And
Mm-hmm.
so it is the different stages in life. You know what I mean? Like when
Yes,
she was 6,
right.
I was 12. I'm going into
Yeah, you
teenagehood.
already,
By the time she's
yeah.
turning a teenager, I'm moving out. You know
Right,
what I'm
exactly.
saying?
Like, you don't understand
So
what I'm going through.
yeah, so I get that. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yes.
So now we're 12 and mom is out of jail. She's moved to San Diego and she's
Hmm.
requesting your presence. And so
Right.
we go to San Diego and what happens now?
Ooh. We go to San Diego and everything is really great for like about a month. And then things just kind of go all the way to shit. Can I curse? I'm sorry.
Yes, you can. You can say whatever the
Okay.
fuck you want to say.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. So yeah, everything just kind of went to shit. Like, she didn't actually have like her own place. She was staying with a cousin of ours who, I mean, I think she's like like a really far removed cousin. Like, it ain't a first cousin, second cousin. This is like a third on your cousin's side, mama removed or whatever kind of cousin. And I say that because I think that has something to do with the disconnect with me. Because it wasn't like I was super, super like her family, right? So we were living with this cousin, older lady, really like, to me, just a bitch, just for no reason. So when we first got there, everything was okay, but like literally a few days in, everything was wrong. I couldn't take a bath for more than like, or shower for longer than 10 minutes, or I couldn't cook in the kitchen, or I couldn't do that. It was so much stuff. And I'm just like, and mind you, I'm a kid, I'm 13, and I'm like, and I just came from a home where it's just love and everybody is relaxed and it's nothing like that. So now I'm just uptight, and she got these dogs in the house, girl, with fleas and shit that she bathes in the tub. And I'm like, I don't want to take a shower because there's fleas literally jumping all over the place. And so I got cussed out because I said something. So it was just bad. Like, wasn't happy at all. And then to top that off, my mom just decided to start disappearing on me, So that let me know right there, like, okay, she's already back on her old antics. I already knew. So right in that moment, it was like, do you call Granny and tell her, like, what, Granny did some bullshit. We don't got no place, and, just tell her everything. Or do you stay with your mom? Do you not say nothing and you stay with your mom? And so I decided to stay with my mom, because I could have at any point called my grandmother and said, Granny, this is what's happening. I would have been on, not even a Greyhound. Like, they would have came and got me. Like, it's not even about that. Like, I know that. But that really at the time wasn't even an option to me, if that makes sense to you.
I totally
Like,
understand.
yeah, like being with my mother was that important to me. Like, I saw, like, this lady, I would literally wake up and she would be gone, like, where the heck, and be gone for like the whole next day, and then she'll come back and it'll just be like, oh, like nothing happened, or whatever. And I'm 13, so that means brand new in the city where I got to get myself up and go to school, get on the bus and go to school. So it was hard, to
It's
say
a
the
culture
least.
shock, right?
Big time. Because like I said, coming from a place where I never took a bus, I never had to go, never, none of that stuff. So being immediately, pushed into like total independence. But I'm very much a resourceful kid, I guess, because even in San Jose, when I was 10 and 11 and she went to jail, she was doing the same things. And I would literally just have to go to school, get myself up, go to school. And if I didn't feel like going to school, I would just, do whatever I was doing. But I was on my own little accord at like 11, it was crazy. I tell my daughter, she's 9, I shared with her a few of those stories. And she's like, Mom, you rode your bike from like way over there to over here. And I'm like, yeah, because nobody was looking for him. Nobody was like monitoring what I was doing. I said, imagine if I didn't, monitor what you were doing. Imagine if I just said, oh, go have a good day, and just let you do whatever. Who knows what your little mind might think of?
I
Well, I
know.
might get on
You're
my,
like raising
my bike.
yourself.
Pretty much, yeah. So, I mean, I would get on my bike, girl, and just get on and ride from, a long distance. Like if you were in a car, it'd take you 15 minutes, and I would be like 10. So anyway, fast forward back to San Diego, it just, I knew that I was going to have to like pretty much handle stuff on my own, with all hope from my mom, of course, like never giving up the hope, like, okay, she'll get it together, she'll get it together, she'll get it together. But just still just having to do my own thing. So, life got really interesting, at that point. So
So you're catching a bus to school.
catching the bus and the trolley to school, and meeting people and acquiring new friends and whatnot. And I think that lasted for maybe 3 months or 4 months, I want to say. And then that cousin was like, you got to take her. Because like I said, my mom would just leave. So I was really just there with her, and she was like, you got to go. Not to me, but like telling my mom, like, yeah, I would hear them. Oh, I don't know what you're going to do, but you got to find somewhere to go. Okay. So then I went to stay with another cousin, which is where I met you. I ended up going to live with my another cousin, a younger cousin of mine. She was, I think, 25 at the time. So she was quite young. She had young kids. So my mom was like, okay, you're going to go stay with your cousin. And I was cool with that because I was
And
like,
she wasn't
okay.
coming with you?
No, she was not coming with me. That was never a part of it. It was always just for just a little while, like, okay, well, just until I could figure out where our next thing is going
Where
to
her
be,
next move was.
pretty much. Because like I said, my older cousin was like, okay, nah, she gotta go. Because also, oh, you know what, that just reminds me that happened. So, and I don't even know if that was directly related or not, but now that I'm thinking about it, it probably was. She had a son, my older cousin, she had a son who was incarcerated when we first started living there. I want to say maybe like a month and a half in, or no, I take that back. This is like 3 months and almost towards the end. He gets out. Okay. So of course he comes there. Now he has to be, I don't even know how old he was, but he was young. He had to be like maybe 21, 22, something like that. So when he comes, I'm young, I'm 13 now, mind you, and I'm not saying, oh, I'm young, like, oh, we're young. No, I'm saying like I'm young. In his eyes, I look like his type. You know what I mean? Like, I wasn't overly developed or anything at that age, but at the same time, I was a pretty girl or whatever, and I was there. I was in his vicinity. He just been locked up for however long. So nothing happened, but he tried to, in front of her, in front of his mom, like literally the first night he was home, we were sitting on the couch, all of us sitting on the couch watching a show or something, and he just like randomly like laid in my lap, like laid his head in my lap, and I was like totally shocked, and I'm like, what the heck, looking. And so she, of course, because she's sitting on the opposite side of me, she goes, if you're tired, you should go to bed. That's what she says to him. She don't say, nigga, what the hell are you doing? Get your ass up. She don't say nothing. It wasn't no, what the fuck? She's number one, 13, and number two, your cousin, right? So nothing like that. It's like, oh, if you're tired, you need to get up. So he got up and he went in the room. Maybe a few days after that, I was going to the mall on, like just on the day, like, I'm gonna go to the mall. And he was like, oh, well, can I go with you? I need to go get some clothes, dot, dot, dot. So I'm thinking, okay, whatever, I'm not tripping off whatever he probably do. We can go, he can take the trolley, it's no big deal. And I'm not thinking like nothing. So we're going. On the way, we end up seeing some people that I know, some younger, teenagers that I know. And I'm like, oh, hey. And I'm like, hey, with them. He gets super upset, like that I'm talking to these guys. There's maybe one or two girls, but mostly guys. So he's up like, oh, looking all crazy. So I'm looking at him like, what the hell? We get off the trolley downtown. And as soon as we get off the trolley, this dude, my cousin, flips out, pulls out a damn butcher knife out of his big ass army jacket that he was wearing, and starts to try to like stab these dudes up, like fight them or whatever, like as if I'm with him. It was crazy. It was like I don't know what was wrong with this guy, right? So I hop back on the trolley. Like I go across, I totally just walked, I didn't even involve myself because it was, number one, was scary. I didn't know what to do. Like he had a huge knife. So anyway, I just walked back across the tracks. There was another trolley coming, going back the opposite direction. I got on that trolley and I went home. So when I got home, she was like, well, where's cousin? And I was like, oh, I don't know. Like, I was just like, I don't know where he is. I didn't tell her what happened because I was still tripping. Like, what the hell just happened?
You were trying to register what happened
I
yourself.
really was, because it was like, dude is nuts. Like, what's wrong? Like something mentally had to be wrong with him. I don't even, like I said, I don't know these people really. I don't know what's going on. So All I know is, from that, nothing ever, she never said anything right then. Nothing ever came of it. All I know is shortly after that, we was moving. And then later, years later, she made a comment to me, that the older cousin, she was like, yeah, as if I had done something. It all came out like, oh yeah, you left my son, and they was trying to attack him, and anything could have happened to him. And I was looking like, is that what he told you? like all of these years, like literally it had been some years. I'm like, all these years, that is what he told you? You've been believing this all this year? I didn't care what she believed, honestly. I didn't even care to correct her. Like, it was so, at that point, when it came up, I was like, girl, I'm so beyond that. But it was just crazy. So that was a situation that catapulted me into living with my younger cousin. And with her, it was great. Like, I had only good experiences with her prior to this. So I was happy, like, cool, this is going to be way better. She's young. She's got younger kid. She had 3 kids. The twins were 6. And then the younger one was, I think, 3 or 4. So they were little still. And it was like, okay, this is going to be a good change. I could still see my mom. My mom was like, oh, no, I'm going to come. She made it seem like she was going to visit, like, oh, I'm going to come and be there, but I'm not living there. So I thought, like, okay, this is where she'll still come and, like, rebound from. You know what I mean? But she never did. Like, she never did come. So I'm thinking it's going to be great. We move in. Everything is wonderful. And it probably only took about a week or so for that to shift. She had a boyfriend that was in juvenile detention when I moved in, and within that time, within that week, he got out. So once he got out, it went from just being me, her, and her children, her 3 kids, to me, her 3 children, her boyfriend, and maybe like 6 niggas, like all the time. Like all the time.
So let me backtrack so I can get
Mm-hmm.
some clarity. I'm sorry.
Okay,
So
no
you
problem.
said her boyfriend, you did say
Mm-hmm.
boyfriend,
Her
got
boyfriend,
out
yes.
of juvenile
Juvenile
detention.
I
So
guess that's
she's
what it would be called.
25. And if
25.
he's in juvenile detention, how old is he?
He was 19. So maybe it wasn't like juvenile, but it wasn't like regular jail either. You know what I mean? It was something like a youth detention type of
Detention
thing.
center.
Yeah, it was something like that.
Because
So
he was
yeah,
a teenager
because he was
still.
right. Exactly.
Okay.
Yes. So we
And
go
you're
pick him up.
13 at this point, correct?
I'm 14. I think I had just turned
14. And he's
14. I had just turned
19.
14 and he's 19.
Okay.
So, and all his friends are around that, between probably 17 and 20, this mixture of the age. They're all young still, but older than me. So we pick him up, and he lives with us now. Like, that's just that, and it goes from just being chill. Like I said, everything was cool. That first week was like, oh my God, it was so fun. Me and the kid, we watched Disney movies, and she cooked and whatever. It was cool. It went from that to being like the most hood spot ever. Like, oh my God, I'm talking about music is blasting all the time. There's weed smoke in the air all the time. There's, again, 5 to 6 niggas there at any point of the day, because he's 19. He don't got no job. He don't have nothing going on. All he's doing is he chilling, and he been gone for a little minute. So he just, come through, every day. So me and the kids got to go to school. We still went on regular, life, or trying to have a regular life. So that was like the battle. And I was very, aware of life by this point, by 14. I was not a virgin. I did know about drugs. I knew about all of that stuff. So I wasn't like scared. I wasn't afraid of any of it. But at the same time, I didn't appreciate it either. You know what I'm saying? Like, I hated the fact that, like, damn, this is my life. And I didn't grow up like that. I grew up in a Christian home. We chilling, we having dinners together, we loving each other. We doing, we not doing none of this crazy ghetto shit like every day. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I was definitely overwhelmed, very much overwhelmed. And it took a big toll on me. It really did. And I mean, I feel like that was one of maybe a couple of points in my life that were like the darkest points of my life. That was the first, because it was like I felt so helpless. Like I just felt helpless. And it didn't take long. Let me say this, I only lived there from like February until maybe April. So February, March, April. So like 3 months that I actually lived there. It felt like I lived there 2 years, like how heavy those 3 months were. It felt like
I was about to say it was only 3 months.
3 months, girl. Yeah.
I
Because
was in
mind
your
you,
life back then. I swear it
yes, that's
felt
when I
like
met you.
forever.
When I moved from there to go back to my mom from her home, I still had to finish 8th grade. Like I still had like 2 more months of 8th grade
You
left. So
did.
like, yeah, school wasn't even, so I came maybe right after winter break, like after, because I had just turned 14. My birthday's at the end of January. So it was right after my 14th birthday that I moved there. So it was literally 3 months, only 3 months, but so much happened. So, and it didn't take long for it to like I said, start to just be bad. So from the hanging out, the niggas being around, all that, I didn't really feel like I was ever gonna get out. Like it just felt like, oh, this is just gonna be it. Cause my mom again never came. Like I'm just waiting. Like she gonna come and see these niggas up in here, and be like, what the fuck? No, nope. She never came. And I would call, and the number that I had for her, it was just like I would just leave a message. I would leave a message. Like I never would get her when I would call. So of course that's weighing me down. I'm like, damn, my mom is gone. My cousin, of course, now her boyfriend is here. She ain't got no time for me. You know what I'm saying? She ain't trying to talk to me about nothing. She ain't trying to hear nothing I'm trying to say. I became the maid and the babysitter once that nigga came. It was like I had to do everybody's laundry. I had to, because she too busy fucking. She too busy laying up and doing what she's doing. So she like, oh, can you go cook the kids breakfast? Or, oh, can you go make their lunches for tomorrow? Can you iron their clothes? It was like crazy. Like, are you serious? Like for 3 kids, right? I got 3 kids now. And I'm just like, yeah, that's what I was doing then, even cooking dinner and stuff. I didn't know what I was doing. Like, you want me to do what? Like, I'm like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. But that was it. That was my life. She in there entertaining with the niggas and trying to be ghetto. And that's the funny part, is that she's not ghetto, like at all. That is not who she is. But he's this gangbanger. He's from the 60s or something like that. Crips, whatever. And she was all trying to get into that life to make him happy, wearing her nails blue and rag on her head and all of
Oh
this stuff.
God.
Oh yeah, it was really they going there. And it was one guy that she was saying was our cousin, but I don't really know how he was supposed to be our cousin. So he was always really protective of me, because he took that role too, like, oh, okay, this is my little cousin, kind of thing. So that was kind of like a blessing, because he really did kind of buffer the other niggas being in the house. You know what I mean? Like if some things was going on, he might be like, oh, come on, cuz, let's go over here. Or he might leave, or he might be like, oh, it's long. He'll just change the energy, because you know how niggas are. Here I am, I'm 14 in the house. Somebody's trying to say something. Somebody's making comments. Somebody's trying to touch me. Somebody, every day. So it was like I was thankful that he was there and that I built that relationship with him. I lost contact with him too, which is sad. But yeah, it just went downhill. And then after that, her boyfriend, decided that he didn't want her, he wanted me. He didn't tell her that, you know what I'm saying? But he decided on his own that he wanted me, and I guess he decided that I wanted him too, I guess. So it just kind of like gradually started to get worse. Like one day it was just a touch, like on my shoulder. Like another day he might pull me by my waist or whatever. And I mentioned to her, I was like, your boyfriend real touchy, and she would be like, oh, like brush it off. Oh, that's just how dudes are. That's what she would say. Like, oh, that's just how niggas are, whatever. Like, he ain't, what you trying to say? Like, he not doing nothing to you. What, he did something to you? Like, as if I said yes, she was going to do something, but I'm telling you he did something to me and you ain't doing shit, right? And this is before it had escalated. This is like, okay, this is just him. I'm feeling this vibe. And she just kind of ignored that. And it just, again, like I said, it just progressed and progressed. And it went to me waking up to him in my bedroom, me waking up to, him touching me, or, all that. And it just, it was just insane. So that from that point, from the first time, and I told him no, and it was like a no, no, no. I was able to make him leave without anything actually happening. But I wasn't that successful, after in future attempts, I wasn't. And that then led him to tell the niggas that was around and coming around, like, oh, what I mean, she down and I did that, like bragging to them, because I want the guy cousin, he told me like, oh yeah, he asked me basically like, are y'all messing? And I'm like, and I was so embarrassed because I'm like, I'm not doing anything. You know what I mean? And for him to make it seem like I was, or that I was trying to entice him, or, oh, remember that time, remember that night, remember she had on this, or dot, dot. And I'm like, what? I'm 14. I don't got no sexy clothes. I don't got no lingeries. Like, what are you talking about? Like, I'm existing. My existence is doing something to you. You know what I mean? So it made him have these other niggas thinking they could do the same thing. So I had to, combat him. I had to combat, again, waking up to multiple niggas in my room, or waking up to maybe just one, but he's touching me, and that happened for like weeks. So
Where was
it was
she at while this was going on? Because you said they're coming in your
usually,
room. Weren't you sharing the
yes,
room with the
with
kids?
the youngest child. So there were the two older ones had their own room, and then I had the younger one. Now the younger one usually never slept in the room. It would just be me. It was bunk beds. So I slept on the top bunk and she had the bottom. So most of the time she wasn't in there. Like, she would sleep in the other girl's room. So, but there had been times that, yeah, she was in the bottom bunk, and he did not stop or deter him from doing anything. Even me saying, I'm gonna tell, that you're doing this. Well, she not gonna believe you. You know what I mean? What you gonna tell her? She believe whatever the fuck I say. Which was true. He was very manipulative. Like, he would throw tantrums, like, literally, if he couldn't get his way, like, literally, when he came out, she got a brand new van, right? This brand new van, brand new. This fool wanted her to take him somewhere to do something, but we were already on our way home from like getting food or something like that. And so she was like, well, we got to go home first, and he just threw a tantrum in the car, like, oh, I want to go this, da, 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 cuz this, cuz that, I'll do this, I'll do that. So he took you remember the club for the cars, for the steering wheel, the club. So he took the club, the back part of the club, girl, and like hit the windshield from his side of the passenger, like hit it, like one time real good, and just shattered the whole side of the freaking van's front windshield, the brand new van. Like, what is wrong with you? He would just do things like that. He was very intimidating, like, I don't know if he actually hit, I never seen him actually hit her or anything, but I wouldn't be surprised if he was choking her out, or something, because he would just be super aggressive. He'd knock shit over. He'd tear the kids' toys up. He broke my stereo at one time. He was arguing. When it came in the room where I was, I'm minding my business, and he just pick up my radio, like, I'll throw this shit through the window, And so she was like, okay, no, whatever it is he wanted, she gave in, and he just threw my radio down, but like on the ground, but real hard, and it broke anyway. So he was just like that. So whatever he wanted, she would just bend and try to, like, appease him. So he was like, yeah, she not gonna believe you. What you gonna do? Like, and it
And
was like,
where
I
was
believed
she
him.
at when he was like actually coming in
in
your room?
in her room. Sometimes, like, maybe a few times she wasn't there, she had left me and the kids there, and it would be like I said, he was bold. It was so bold, like, to where the kids would be there or something, and he would just push me in the room, like push me in the room and do whatever. And again, it's hard now, like, when I think back on it, because it's like, damn, you always think like, oh, you should have did this, you should have did that. But ultimately, it was like, I really was afraid. Even though I wasn't, like, what he was doing, I knew what it was. Like I said, I wasn't a virgin. I knew what sex was. I knew all of that. But it was like, I really was fearful of him. Like, I didn't think that nobody was going to believe me. I couldn't get a hold of my mom. I didn't want to call my grandmother. Like, for whatever reason, that was never a thought, like, call granny, tell granny. Because I don't know. I don't know if I was embarrassed, ashamed, to tell her that
Yeah,
that was
all of
happening.
the above. Yes.
So so I endured that for, I want to say, like I said, now I feel like it was years, but it would had to be maybe 3 weeks, maybe 2 to 3 weeks or so of that. And then I just began to just shut down, like I've tried to kill myself. That was the
How did you attempt
attempt on my
that?
life. Took a bunch of Tylenol PMs. I was not dying that day. Okay. Girl. So I mean, I know like I didn't really, 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 really want to die. Because I know like it would have been probably a better, if more effective way to do it if I wanted to, but I did. I was so tired, like so tired of every day waking up and just like, oh my God, like feeling just like helpless, worthless, feeling dirty, feeling like just a little whatever, type of a girl, like, oh, that's who I am type of thing. And not being able to verbalize it to anybody, like, how do I say this? Like, it was so much, it was so much. So, yeah, so I did, make that attempt, and that did help get the attention, I guess, that I needed. Like, my mom finally showed up. They found my mom. They had to find her at that point, and she came. And when she came, of course, I let her know like what happened, but not, and it was so crazy. I didn't actually tell her about the rape or abuse. I did not. I just told her like, I don't like it there. She don't trust me. Like, I made it about, everything else. I never actually told my mom that he did what he did until I was an adult. And and I don't
Why
even
do
really
you
know why.
think you didn't tell her?
I don't know. I feel like because how it all ended up coming out was like after the whole, suicide attempt, probably that next day that I got out of the hospital, we were leaving. Like she, was like, okay, you're not going to be going back to live there. So we pull up to her house, my cousin's, I'm thinking I'm gonna go in and pack my stuff. My stuff was already packed. So it was already done for me. So when I got to my next destination with my mom, I think I was in such a just like relief mode. Like, I didn't want to talk about it. Like, I didn't want to even think about any of it. At this point, we lived with her girlfriend, my mother's girlfriend. And it was, again, peaceful. It was quiet. I had my own room. Like, that first night that we got there, I just like slept. Like, I didn't worry about nobody coming in my room. It was like, I'm getting emotional right now because I remember that. Like,
Yeah. Just being able to breathe and relax, and I'm okay. Like, I'm fucking okay.
so
So what was your release? Because I'm putting my business out here in the streets.
yeah.
We was smoking
Oh,
weed.
girl.
We was drinking
Lord.
wine coolers. Look, we
Wine
thought we was
coolers.
really doing. I remember sneaking
thought
out
we
the
was
house
messed
to
up.
go in the
Trying to go
backyard
smoke, girl. Oh my God. So many
and drink
stories.
our wine coolers.
Yes. And I mean, at that time, honestly, that was it. You were my bestest friend. Like, you were my best friend at the time. And it was like, oh God, I could just go kick it with her. And we didn't have to talk about that. We were just friends. And you weren't ever like judging me. It was a safe space. You know what I mean? So that's what I had. I had that, and just, smoke, whatever. But other than that, I didn't have anything,
So when
and
you
that
were
was
coming over my house, right? Because you spent some nights with us.
yeah. Uh-huh.
How was she reacting? Was she okay with you being gone because you were like the babysitter and the chef?
Yeah. Yeah, she never was like, oh, you can't go, have friends or nothing like that. But if I was there, then it's some stuff to be done.
Right.
But no, yeah, she never tried to deter me from, me having friends or anything like that. But
And so is that why you think you never told me, was because it was just like, dude, like, I am on break. Like, I'm on a
yeah, like,
vacation.
for real. It was
Like,
exactly. I was on break. And then too, again, just being embarrassed, like literally
yes.
just feeling like, is this my fault? Is this my fault? What am I doing? Did I say something that, all of those things, just not really being for sure. Like, no, this is not me, it's him. You know what I mean? And just I don't know. And it's crazy because, like I said, I didn't come from that. It ain't like I was trained to just take it, or none of that. But I also wasn't taught either. That's something else
Exactly.
about none of that. Nobody ever had that conversation with me. And that's interesting that I could say that. No one ever sat me down and was like, your body is yours. Nobody's supposed to touch you. Nobody has the right to do that. Nobody ever. So not to say that, that's just common sense. But it's like when you're in
No, it's
certain
not.
situations, yeah, it's like you
It's not common sense.
feel pressured, like you feel that pressure. And then again, all the situation being what it was, I didn't think she was gonna believe me. And then ultimately she did not. You know what I mean? Ultimately she did not. She chose to believe him, because what happened was, I did have a diary, so I wrote everything in my diary. When I got my things after she had packed all my stuff up and I got back to my diary, most of my diary was ripped out, pretty much. So she claims she never did that. Maybe it was him. You know what I mean? Maybe he had read it and was like, oh, hell no. But I don't know. She says she never seen it. She says she didn't know. But I know that I let her know. I know that even before, like I said, before it got to the point to where it was, that I'm like, something's not right. I don't feel comfortable. And she didn't do anything about that. Like, she was way more in tune with him and his needs and keeping him. Like, I've seen this girl literally starting fights, getting into fights, that they never did that ever in her life. But here she is, doing all of this stuff just to try to keep this dude. So me, I was just a happenstance. Like, I just happened to be in her house. You could go. I ain't tripping. She wasn't fighting for me or any of that. So she ended up coming to the house and coming to where we were living. Like, shortly after I left with my mom, maybe a few days, a week at most, she came. And I don't remember, and it's kind of spotty. I don't remember if I was told, like, oh, they're coming over and we're going to sit down and talk, or if they just came and I just, they were there. And the conversation was happening to where pretty much I was being made to look like I initiated certain things. And it was still not about him. It was about all the other boys, like all the other guys that were
She
around.
was
Like,
coming to
oh,
cover her ass. She wanted to
right.
know
And
what you
telling my
told your
mom,
mother.
right. And then she's telling my mom stuff like, oh, well, one time I did come home and she was in her towel, in a towel or whatever. And I was asking her what she was doing in the living room in a towel. And I'm thinking, like, when did that ever happen? And mind you, I'm literally sitting in the room with them all talking, but I'm quiet. I'm not saying anything. Like, I'm not saying, no, that didn't happen. I'm not saying nothing. Like, I don't even know what it was. It was just like, I was in this mode of, I don't even care. You're gonna leave. I'm back with my mom, and I don't even care. It was like, you can say whatever you want. Like, that's kind of what I was thinking. I didn't even want to talk about the shit. It was like, you're a liar. I don't care. So she was saying all these things, trying to make it seem like the cousin, that as if me and him had something going on, and all of this stuff. So she's telling my mom all these things. My mom is halfway believing her, because mind you, she knows her. She's older. My mother knows this cousin, so she's like, I don't believe everything you saying. But at the same time, my mom didn't know. Like, she didn't really know, what was truth and what wasn't. So, I don't know. It's just funny how we decide to sweep things under the rug, because I know my mom never ever after that said, okay, well, what really happened? Like, will you tell me what happened? You know what I mean? Like, or did something happen? Like, she never actually questioned me about it, just for her own clarity. You know what I'm saying? Like, we never talked about it again. It just went away. You know what I mean?
Does a
Until,
part of you think that she knew?
yeah, my mom, I feel
Yeah,
like she knew that. I don't think she knew it was her boyfriend, but I think she knew that something had happened to me, that I tried to
right.
do that to myself. I was that unhappy that, I wanted to leave there. She knew something had happened, but just to what extent, she didn't know. And maybe she was just afraid to ask. She didn't want to know. You know what I mean? I don't know. But from that point, it just got to me, it was like a new beginning, honestly, a new beginning, but then not really, because I kind of was still in the same mental headspace. I mean, I was in a new surrounding, better surrounding, way more loving. My mom's girlfriend, her name is Carrie. She was an older woman. Like, if my mom was 35 or something, Carrie probably was 45 or 50 already. You know, she was significantly older than my mom, but she had known my mom since she was 18. So this is somebody she has history with, whatever. So that woman was a very loving woman, very motherly, even though she was a lesbian, very, very motherly. Like, she wanted to always make sure we were okay. She always took care of my mom, like, always, even when she was messing up. Like, you don't deserve none of this shit. Like, but Carrie still took care of her. So being there, I felt so much more safe, you know, and I was able to thrive a little bit better, because I feel like had it been like not a positive place, I don't think I would have made it that first year after that, because I was damaged. I really was. I was like just medicating a lot, you know, and
With marijuana
with marijuana. Yeah, I've never
and
done,
liquor, or
and
what
not so
else?
much liquor, just marijuana, not so much liquor. The baby is here now.
Hey, little one.
She had to come join. Um, but just doing that a lot, you know, with sex, also just kind of like being out there, because it was just whatever, you know, I don't know. And then again, my mom back on her old thing. So it just started all over again. You know, I was in a better place, but then it was like, okay, I'm still kind of on my own, and I'm still dealing with everything that happened to me. I know I never really was shown how to handle or process what actually happened to me. And I just went on this road of, you know, promiscuity and shit. Ah, baby. And self and, like, you know, self-destruction, you know what I mean?
All right. So we're gonna pick back up. So at this point, you said we're overindulging in the weed. We're not too
Mm,
much of a drinker at this point, and
no,
promiscuous behavior is coming about. So a lot of
big time.
people want to understand that
Mm-hmm.
dynamic. Do you feel like it could be something like a self sabotage, or like I'm in pain? You know how people cut and they
Mm-hmm.
cut because they're in so much pain, but they
Right.
have control over this.
Over the pain.
You know what I'm
Absolutely.
saying?
Yeah. I think that I think so. I feel like, yeah, that was a great analogy. The cutting, like, kind of putting it into that perspective, because it is like it's like, but I'm in control of this. Like, you're not doing this to me. I'm doing, you know, what I want to do, so to speak. So it's yeah, because I mean, I started to do, you know, stripping, and I started doing, you know, stuff like that, and it was like, if
At
it
what
said
age?
14, 14, like pretty much as soon as summertime, like after 8th grade ended and summertime came, it was like, it was on and cracking pretty much. So I probably had about a couple of months of a lull where I was just going to school. You know, I finished 8th grade and all of that stuff, and my head was kind of just keeping my head down a little bit. Like, actually, I wasn't actually smoking or anything in those few little months. But then once summer came, I met this girl, you know, and we started, I forget where I even met her. I think I met her at the trolley station, I think. But she was the same age as I was, but way, way, way more like advanced as far as like stripping and all that stuff. You know what I mean? She was totally in the life, and she was 14. Like, she would, if you looked at her, you would think she was 18 or 19. She would wear a lot of makeup. Her body was very developed. So I started hanging out with her that summer. So once I started getting with her, it went, you know, 0 to 100 real quick. You know, I was living life like a grown up, you know, 100% like a grown up, like a stop baby. So, you know, coming and going as I please. My mom at that point was um, not anywhere to be found. I mean, we might see her once a month or something. She'll just, and then it'll be like, you
Well,
just
you
come
were
home.
living with her and her girlfriend at this point, right?
Yes, yes. But drugs, you know, drugs kept her in the street. You know what I mean? So she would come home, and it would be like, you know, gaps. So, like, let's say she would do that for like 4 months, where we would see her once a month, and then she might be home for 2 months straight. You know what I mean? And then she'll be there every day. And then like it'll go again where she'll just be off on one. And it was just like that, for the rest of that time. But like I said, thank God, her girlfriend wasn't a messed up person. She had a good, genuine heart. So when she wasn't there, and especially in that early part in the beginning, she still would just do like normal. She would take me to school. She would still, buy groceries and do all that stuff. She didn't let it affect me, so to speak. Now that did change at one point, some years later down the line. But again, to me, I feel like I get it because I mean, for real, you just not we supposed to be together. And at that point, she had got a whole nother girlfriend, honey, my mom. So I understood why Miss Carrie started tripping. But
Okay.
because I mean, I'm grown now, so I'm like, oh hell no, yeah, my mom, you had to get the hell on. But so excuse me. So yeah, it was more like, wait, baby. It was more like just finding my own way. You know what I mean? Like I said, I was grown. I did my own thing. I had my own money. That was the only way I was surviving because she wasn't there. And that's one thing. Carrie wasn't like giving me money, like, oh, here, go buy clothes or go buy, stuff like that. So she put food in the house and take care of the house. Like I had a home to go to, but she wasn't necessarily providing me all of my needs. Like I still need tampons. I still need, lotion, deodorant, I still need those things. And I got to do what I need to do. I can't go get a job yet. So I'm doing this. Me and this girl, we would, boost and sell clothes at school. We would definitely do, parties and stuff like that. I'm going to go upstairs really quickly. But, it was just like a lifestyle. It really was. It just became like the normal thing. Even though I knew I was I'm 14, like, come on, 15. I knew that I shouldn't be living this way, but it was like, this is what I got to do, and I had kind of turned off my, I don't even know what you call it, not my conscience, because I still had a conscience, but like I just kind of turned off that moral standard that I had, I guess, like that I grew up on, that I was taught in church, my grandmother instilled in me. I kind of like tucked it away somewhere else for like some years and just went on this
You went
like,
into survival mode,
yeah,
right?
there, yes,
Survival
big,
mode.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Like just whatever I have to do, whether that meant dancing, whether that meant, hanging out with somebody because he's going to provide X, Y, and Z for me, then I was doing all of that, from 14 to about like 16, I was fully in that life, just depleting all my little funds, girl. So all my soul funds, just depleting them. But, you learn. It's like you don't have anybody there to say, hey, what are you doing? Where are you going? It's 11 o'clock. How you leaving? And you 14. Nobody's saying that to me. I'm just kind of doing my own thing. And, that's not good. So I did a lot of things that I probably should not have been doing, but it all goes back to that, self-medication and that just like I'm in control of this though, because couldn't nobody tell me nothing. I was solo. That's who I was. Like I had, you couldn't tell me, how to do anything. You couldn't tell me nothing because I'm surviving and I make my own way. Like that was my mentality, So.
Exactly. So at 16, what happened at 16?
Um, I was tired. I was getting tired. Like, just it was starting to kind of get a little bit old. You know what I mean? Like the stripping was getting old. I was starting to not have fun doing it no more because mind you, I'm not in a club. You know what I mean? I'm dancing at somebody's little function, somewhere or stuff like that. So, in the beginning, it's like, oh, we young, this is fun, we having a good time. But I stopped having fun. I stopped, being able to tune out the bullshit because, of course, it always comes with some bullshit, being disrespected or being, just made to feel a certain kind of way. So I just got tired of that and started to want to just be better, wanted to be better. And I got a real job. I started working at SeaWorld. And I got me a regular job, and kind of got back on a more responsible path, I guess you could say. I ended up meeting a guy who was way older than me, but I kind of liked him a lot too, and I wanted to be this more wholesome young lady kind of thing. So that did affect, you know, how I was like presenting myself. Because before that, honey, I wore like the little tiny dresses with the high heels, and I'm a kid, girl. When I think back on it, I'm like, Lord God, thank God we didn't have no social media, because if I was to see myself walking around like how I know I used to be dressed, I would be like, if you don't get your little ass in the house right now, like, oh my God, girl, with no eyebrows, girl. Just, I
Okay.
mean, just little, trying to be grown. Get your ass in the house, okay? So I was trying to kind of erase some of that. You know, I wanted to be, you know, a respectable young woman at that point. I was like, you know, I don't want to be no hoe. I don't want to be out there just, you
Want to
know,
be
stripping. And I
normal.
want to live a, right. Exactly. So that's what I did. I just kind of gradually just started to change, you know, like I stopped hanging out with that, you know, friend, me and her, you know, we stopped hanging out, which is funny because her life went a whole nother direction, boo. Like I just actually got back in contact with her recently, whole nother direction. Like she looked about 15 years older than me and we're the same age. So yeah. So, you know, everything happens for a reason. Thank God, you know, that my path was different and that, you know, I chose when I did to stop, because it wasn't good. Like I said, I wasn't around good people. That energy was negative. I mean, so many situations that I was in those years, to where I'm like, I am lucky to be alive. Girl, I watch so much ID channel and all that. I'm lucky to be alive. These girls get snatched all the time and be sex trafficked and be chopped up. And Lord knows, I was just walking my little happy ass down Imperial, well past dark, well past the time I should have been. Me and her, in little dresses and heels. You know what I'm saying? Just putting ourselves in cars with men. We have no idea who they are. We have no idea that they're not going to kill us. You know what I mean? And we're just happily hopping in. Where we going? Oh, you smoke? Okay, let's, you know, not even thinking about this shit, you know? So I just know that it could have been a lot different. You know what I mean? So
So
yeah,
you got the
I'm,
boyfriend at 16. Where are you living at this
mhm.
point?
I'm still living with Carrie. That's still my
Mhm.
home base, you know. Um, I lived there with her until I was 18. So once I
Oh,
turned
okay.
18, yeah, she pretty much was like, you know, you can stay here. Excuse me. It was probably around 16 though when she started kind of tripping. So, which was okay, because I was working, like I had a regular job at that point, and you know, so I could still provide for myself. I wasn't going without, but I noticed like she wouldn't take me to school no more. She wouldn't put groceries in the house. Like she started just pretty much only getting stuff for herself, and you know, okay, baby. So you know, I at the time I was like, oh, she foul. You know, I kind of took a different attitude about it, but like I said, now I understand it more of why she was kind of being the way she was. But you know, she did let me stay there till I was 18. I was dating the boyfriend. He was in the military. Um, up until that point. Now, mind you, of course, he's a lot older than me, maybe 5 or 6 years older than me. So we dated, but it wasn't like I was really, really his girlfriend. I
Mhm.
mean, in my mind, I was, but you know how that
Right.
goes. But when I turned 18, I moved in with him. So, you know, I don't know, I guess I was, you know, to the point where he did say, you know, when I turned 18, he was like, okay, you know, I want you to come to live with me. Um, but you know, that was really, it was playtime. It really was, because he kind of was still doing whatever he was doing. You know, he 23 or something. Like, what am I? How am I know? Like, I mean,
Right.
like I don't hang out with nobody he hang out with. I can't go the places he goes or whatever. So you know, he was most definitely having other relationships during that time. But it was like, you know, it was one of those things. But you know, another saving grace too, you know, because I wanted to be better because of him, you know, wanting to be with him. I wanted to be better too.
Yeah. And
So
however God makes that happen, it happens,
that
right?
part, that part.
Yes. So how long were
Hmm.
we with the boyfriend?
I was with him for like 6 years.
Oh, okay.
Oh
That was
yeah,
some
like
long term.
it was like he was my first real boy, real boyfriend living. He's my first of all that, And it's funny because it didn't work out. We weren't ultimately, really, really great for each other, in the long run. But he really was good for me. You know what I mean? Like, it totally calmed me down. It totally redirected my focus. He was a decent guy, even though, he did his little whatever in the beginning. He was a decent guy. Like, once we actually got to it, like, okay, after me moving in, we had a little whatever, but it was a solid relationship. It was a real relationship. So,
So were you in college at the time? Like, what were you doing?
I
Because I
was
know you
in high
modeled, act
school.
for a while. What was going on?
I was in high school still, like when I moved in with him, I was just about to graduate. I turned 18 in January. So I lived with him through that last part of seeing. Isn't that funny? Like, 'cause he was like 20. Oh my God. He was like
And
24 or
you're
whatever. I'm
18.
literally
You're
18,
grown
but I'm
though,
not even graduated high school yet.
but you're still in high
But I'm
school. Yeah.
grown. Yeah, but I'm still in high school. I'm 18, but I'm still in high school. Um, so I stayed with him, through that whole time. And I was working. At that point, I started working in the dental field, in the front office, like administration. At that point, I did that for like 6 years for my career. But but yeah, so I did some college. I did start college. I was, I did all that. I was on the straight and narrow. I'm going to go to school. I'm going to do this. But what changed was my desire to pursue my acting, pursue modeling and all that. Like, and that was around 18. Like, as soon as I graduated from high school, actually I hadn't even graduated yet. I did Soul Train. I was still in school. And, or no, I had graduated. I take that back. It was the following winter, but I was still 18. So this is still fresh. Me and him, I had only been living with him for, a little while. And, I did Soul Train, and Soul Train is not acting. It ain't, none of that. But it was like, wow, okay, this is what it is. I kind of got the vibe, and I was like, no, I really want to do this. I really want to put the time into it, and that's what ultimately broke us up. That's what ultimately just dissolved that relationship, because he was not with it. He was like, everybody in LA want to be a model. Every girl, in LA thinks she's going to be an actress. Every dude wants to be a basketball player. He was on that type of, like, ish.
Yeah, like you're
And
pipe dreaming. Like this ain't
right.
realistic.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And saying, because he, like I said, he was in the military and had plans to go to college. Just when he got out, he was about to get out of the military. And he was about to, enroll in college, and he had his plan set. He was going to become an engineer. So, he had a very solid plan, and my plan was to become a nurse. That was what I was on the path to doing. But when, I'm like, but I don't really want to do that. Yes, I have a passion to be a nurse. I love people. I want to take care of people, but I would much rather make movies. Like,
Right.
or that's what I want to do. That's a passion of mine as well. So why not pursue it while I'm young and see if it can happen? Why not? I don't have any children. Why not? And he was not with it. Like I said, it was very, very negative, very negative. And then when I did Soul Train, it was like super negative, like I got called all kinds of stuff, and I was like, well, damn, just from Soul Train, like I was just asking
So
for
he was
somebody to,
verbally abusive.
well, in that particular incident, yes. Like, he not ever before, but he was just so like trying to deter me, like, oh, you want people thinking you a hoe, and all of them girls on Soul Train be fucking them dancers. And I'm like, how do you know these things? I was asking him, like, well, how do you know? Like, you're acting like you just know the behind the scenes of Soul Train. Like, what are you saying to me?
Look,
Like, oh,
did you
that's
get
just
some coochie behind the scenes?
right. That's what I'm saying. Did you go to Soul Train before and you didn't tell me what's going on? Because he just was acting like, he just knew when I go, I'm gonna be turned out, like, and I had to stay overnight. It was like a 2-day thing. So he was like, oh, you're gonna be in a hotel, and this is what's gonna happen, and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, all of that, and these girls this, and these girls that. So he was just putting all these labels on me, and I didn't appreciate it, especially coming from where I've been. I was like, don't talk to me like that. Like, that's not what this is. Like, I know what a hoe is. I know what a
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? I know what that is, and that is not this. So it just really turned me off. It really made me feel like, you know what, you're not for me. You're so afraid of me getting to a place to where maybe you can't reach me anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what that is. It's not even about nothing else, because I've never, you know, I was totally in love with this dude. Like, this was gonna be my husband. I have his, I got it covered now, name tattooed on me and everything. You know what I'm saying? So it was like, no, this was it for me. So to me, it sounded crazy. Like, you sound like you're afraid I'm gonna leave you or something if I go off to LA and, you know, all this stuff. So anyway, it just became too much, and I was tired of fighting for my own life, you know, as I felt like, this is my life. Like, we not married. We not, you know, I'm 19, you know, 18, 19 at this point. And I'm like, I'm about to do what I'm about to do, you know, but it still took me a while though. Like, he did deter me for like maybe 2 more years of just me still just working and not really pursuing nothing, maybe taking some pictures or, you know, doing a photo shoot here or something, but not actually really putting energy behind it, no momentum. But when I turned 22, my 22nd birthday, I was like, you know what? I'm doing this shit. I'm fully going hard. Told him, of course, he was not with it. No, 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 no. And then also right before that, I had got my real estate license. And I was telling him, well, I'm about to quit my job, my dental job. And at that point, I was a manager at a really nice office in Point Loma and doing really well, you know. And he was like, no, you can't just leave that job. Because mind you, he's still in college. He don't have no solid job yet. So he's thinking, I don't know, I guess he figured, oh, well, you know, I'm broke. I don't want you to be broke too.
Right.
So he, you know, even though we weren't even living together at that point, because I did end up moving out and getting my own place. I lived with him for a year. And I said, you know, I want to have my own experience of being a woman and having my own place and doing all that. So I did that,
Was
and we
that
lived
up the
apart.
hill?
Well, I lived in El Cajon at that time.
Was that when I came and seen you? Because I had
No,
a
I was
friend
still
that
living.
lived down the hill.
Yes. No,
You stayed
that's
in
when
them
I lived with
apartments.
him. That's when I lived
Yeah.
with him. We lived there. Yes.
Yeah.
So
Okay. That's. I'm
after
like these.
that, I
These
got my own
stories sound
place.
familiar. Like,
Yeah. So
yeah.
after that time, I got my own place. But yeah, up the hill, that was his
I remember
place.
that you were so different. I was like,
Yeah.
my friend is
I
not the
know, right? Like, it
same.
was a whole, yeah, it was a
You
shift.
were
Like, I got
quiet
super
and just
serious and like,
yeah.
yeah,
I was like, she
it
ain't
was
no fun
about
in no
work. I know, right?
house.
We ain't turned up. What's going on? Man, because we used to have so much fun. Oh my God.
So much
I know
fun,
your
bitch.
mom
You
probably would
was
be like, if
like
y'all
this
don't shut
married
up.
old lady
I
nun
know.
or something.
Yeah. No, at that time,
I was
no,
like,
for real. I was cooking dinner every night. I'm washing clothes and folding clothes and stuff. You know, like pretty much living like a married woman with him. I pretty
mm.
much was at like 19.
I didn't know
Like,
how to take it. I'm serious. Like I did not know how to take it. I was like, who
like
is
what?
this
Who are you? Right? Yeah,
chick?
that's girl. That is, yeah, that's true. It's totally true. And that was a part of it. Like when I left him, I regained that part of my personality again. That just fun. Let's let it all hang out type of part. Because with him, I was very buttoned up. Because again, not that he was, but he was. He's from the South, you know, very much be a lady, you know, type of thing. So I was very buttoned up with him. You know what I mean? There was no we just being loud and one night getting drunk together. And none of that, you know, stuff.
You
It
did,
wasn't like
and you
that.
talked like
So,
that.
nah,
Like you were monotone. It was
no,
no. You like,
no.
hey girl. Hey, I
Oh my
was
God.
like, girl, are you trying to be a phone sex operator? What is going on? I was like, girl, take off that white girl voice, bitch.
Take off the
What's
white
up?
girl. What's that? Right? I'm telling you. So yeah, it was interesting. And like I said, I did end up writing a book of poetry. I put out a book of poetry years later. And that was a good chunk of it. Like some of the poetry that I wrote was just about like being so subdued. And I wrote about that, like how I just felt like I was in this little cage, you know, and he had the key and I was just singing for him and flapping my wings for him and shit. But it was all for him. It was not for me. So I was not living for myself at 18 to 19 years old. You know, I was like, this is not cool. 20, I'm like, I'm young. I need to be living. This is not love. Love does not suffocate you. You know what I mean? So stop, baby. So I had to break away from that. You know, it was like 22. I said, you know what? I'm moving to LA. I'm ready to do it. I'm just moving. I don't want to be with you no more. I just literally came home and broke up with him. like, you know what? I'm done. And of course he was like, what? Because to him, he thought we're good. We're going to be, it's same, married. This is, you know, for us, it'll be me and you. But I broke up with him. He did not take it well. It took a long time for him to actually accept that we were broken up. But, you know, it was what I had to do. And it took me, I broke up with him in like maybe January, early February. And then by December of that year, I was back in LA. And I had bought a townhome right prior to that. So I was living in the townhome. And he had just moved in with me right before that. So I sold that and moved to Los Angeles to pursue, you know, my new life, you know, and I'm so happy that I did because
What happened when you got there?
so when I got to LA, it was just like all about, you know, me, all about my career, all about enjoying myself, you know, enjoying life and all that. So I mean, I hit the ground running, you know. I got here in December of 2006. And I would say by that following summer of 2007, I had already booked like 6 to 7, you know, notable jobs, you know. And I was in the Cali is Active video. That was like the first video I did with Snoop and the Dog Pound and all that. So I did a bunch of videos. Um, I started getting into, you know, stage plays and whatnot. It just was cracking, you know, it just really was cracking. And I was having fun and it was working and I was working and I didn't even have a job, like a regular job for a long time, like probably at least 4 years, 5 years in before I actually started working at a restaurant. You know, like I just was gigging hard, like auditioning for everything, anything I could get my hands on, I was going and doing as much, you know, free work plays and stuff as I could, just trying to get myself out there and let people see me and all that. And it was really, really awesome. Like when I say like my 20s was fucking lit because I wasn't afraid. I literally just went for it. Like whatever happens, it's gonna happen. If I fail, then at least I tried. Like that was my whole thing. Like I'll never know if I don't just go to this audition and say, fuck it, I'm going. And you know, and that's what I did. And I did a lot of stuff and I'm proud, you know, that of the things that I've accomplished, because a lot of people do come to LA and they want that and they chase that dream and they never have any form of real success to even be able to speak about, you know what I mean? So I'm not famous, you know what I mean? Somebody who might have saw one of my B movies might know who I am. I don't know. But you know, by no means am I like a celebrity. However, I am so like happy with like what I've done, and you know, so proud of what I've done. Like, you know, of course some movies could have had a bigger budget and it would have been a little better, but I'm still super proud. Like, yeah, I did that, you know, when I was
You
24
did
or
that.
25, I did that. And and not a lot of people can say that they did. So, you know, I have national commercials. I have, you know, feature films with A-list actors, you know, where I'm in the credits right along with them. You know, when you Google it, my name pop up next to theirs, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, that feels good to know, like, okay, my work wasn't in vain. I wasn't chasing the pipe dream. You know, I do have something, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, it was definitely a fantastic experience. I'm talking about travel, good sex, some good, you know, no boyfriend girlfriend type, but good connections as far as like relationship with, you know, men that, you know, I'll remember forever, just enjoying that time. You know, no, it wasn't like the one or whatever, but the experience was awesome, you know what I mean? So my 20s was great, you know, and I enjoyed them, and I would not change any part of that at all.
So how did
So
you
yeah.
meet your husband?
No, my husband, I've actually known my entire life. He is the boy next door. um, my grandparents' home is in Gardena, and where I grew up, and his father's home is right next door. So we literally live next door to each other growing up. He is 10 years older than me, though. So growing up, we didn't like play together or anything like that, because of course he was 10 years older than I was. But it was not until I had moved back to LA in my early 20s. I was like 22, 23, and I was parked on the street on the phone, talking on the phone in front of my grandparents' house, and he just happened to be like walking from somewhere going back to his dad's house. And that's when we seen each other. It was like, oh, hey, and of course I knew who he was and he knew who I was. But nothing had ever happened or transpired before that. It was never like, oh, I know you like me, or nothing like that. So it's just like a real general kind of like conversation. He's very handsome, So I was like, oh, okay, that's Charlie. Oh, hi, Charlie.
Well, Charlie didn't grow up.
Charlie, right. That's what I was thinking too. Like, okay, he's grown. He's a grown man. Okay. So, when the conversation turned into like, oh, well, I might be interested, I was open to it. I was like, wow, what are the odds? Number one, I would have never thought, because we don't have a history. It wasn't like, oh, when we were younger, we, dated and then we came back together. Like, we really did start from scratch, dating with each other. But I just would have never thought, like, what are the odds that it did actually spark something, and that we did actually, like, fall in love with each other, and, started making babies with Charlie faces. Yeah, babies with Charlie faces, girl.
And so how old were you when you had your first one?
I was 27, but I turned 28 like the very next month. So I'll just say 28 when I had her. Yeah.
Okay. And so
yep,
what
I
are
almost
we doing?
made it out.
So
made it out my 20s.
Right.
Almost.
So we're in LA. We got the boo thing going. We done had some babies.
Yeah.
We explored our acting. We lived a little. So now looking back, at this girl who is 12 and she's excited. She gets to be with mommy.
Right.
And then it turns into a fucking horror story. Right?
Yeah, pretty much, yes.
So what if you were that guardian angel or an entity in that little girl's life, and you were able to tap her on the shoulder in her darkest moment, what would you say to that?
You about to make me cry again. I would probably say it's okay and it's not your fault. And I would say that everything that's happening to you is for a reason, and it's meant to make you stronger. It's not meant to break you. It's meant to make you stronger. And the best thing that you can do is always stay on the side of light. Stay in the light. Don't, no matter what, no matter how desperate you may feel, don't let your energy go to the darkness and to indulge in those things that ultimately will only damage your soul more. I would tell her to continue to be prayerful and to be positive, and to know that you're great, and that one day it's going to all make sense. It's going to all make sense. And to just keep going every day, and every day do something to make yourself happy. Every day. That's what I would tell her.
Focus on her happiness in the dark.
Yeah.
Well, friend, on a lighter note, on a lighter note, so we have 3 babies. We've got 2 girls and our middle child. That's our
gentleman. Boy. Yes.
And so we're on mommy status. And so what do we got going on? Because I know you have a lucrative business popping right now.
Yeah, it's getting more better. Yeah, it's becoming more lucrative. I'm still in the baby stages, as far as I'm concerned. It's still very much the baby stages, but it's getting there. My skill level is getting better, and as that gets better, then the better cakes I can make. But yeah, I'm fully a mom, fully in mommy mode. 3 beautiful children, 9, 6, and almost 2 years old. So I'm busy. I'm tired. I'm busy. I'm tired, child. What else? What else am I? I'm hungry a lot of times. Isn't that funny? Like, you cook, you feed everybody else, but you don't eat. Like, I don't know how that works, but it works like that for me a lot of times. Like, I'm the last one to eat dinner. It's like 10 o'clock and I'm just,
Like,
let me
so
make my
are
plate.
you not eating
Like,
because you're not hungry? Because, like, I know for
no,
me, like, when I cook for everybody, like, the
you're
energy
not
was
hungry yet.
enough
Yeah.
for I'm like, I need a minute to even
To
get my
eat.
appetite to eat.
Right.
Like,
Honestly, no. I'm hungry, but it's normally like this. I cook. Right now, I'm gonna give you the timeline. So you cook the dinner, you got to make the plates, right? You got 3 kids, you got to get them all sitting down eating their individual little sections. Okay, boom, got them going. So now I am a major like multitasker. So while they're eating, I'm prepping their dessert, or I'm washing up the dishes from the cooking, or whatever. So then by the time I'm done with that, most of the time they're done eating. So now I'm like, okay, now I'm cleaning off the table, and now I'm doing this. So it just ends up being where, and especially when they were in school, it's like dinner time, I'm usually making lunches at the same time for school. So all that's happening. So by the time I'm not sitting down with my with my plate. So by the time I get done, and then I look up, okay, now I got to get y'all washed up. Now it's bedtime. So once I get them in the bed, usually now I'm sitting down and eating. And I think my husband, sometimes he'll eat with them. I'll make his plate as well. But a lot of times he'll wait and he'll eat with me too. Like, we'll just both eat
oh,
later. Yeah, because I
that's
don't
what's
know if
up,
but
girl.
I don't know if he do it on purpose though. No. I don't know if it just happens like that, or if he is mindfully saying, I'm gonna wait for her and eat with her. I don't know.
Right.
But it's nice though. It is nice though that we do. That's like, we have our moments together to have a little quiet time. Oh Lord, little girl.
Okay, we're
She's so
almost
funny.
about to wrap it up. I know she's like, mommy.
If you want to see, do you see what she's doing?
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, and I've just let her go. I would have stopped her a long time ago if not, but
Girl,
it's
like I
fine.
said, another
It's
kid in there,
fine.
and she having a
Yes.
ball.
Oh yes, girl. Throwing them everywhere. It's okay.
So,
But
our cakes.
so
Okay, so
yeah, so the cake.
let's get
So
back to that. So don't
okay.
undermine the cakes, okay?
I'm
Because
not. No,
when
it's
I talk to you about, let me just give my perception. My
okay.
experience. Let me talk about
Okay.
my experience. Okay,
Yes.
you're talking about your cakes and shit, right? So I'm like, oh,
Mhm.
okay. And then you're like, yeah, I'm doing da. And then you like, you can go check it out. I got my own business page on Facebook. So
Right.
I'm like, damn, should I go check out the cakes? Like,
Right. Let
what
me
is
look at
my
the
friend
cakes.
doing? And then
Right.
I go look at the cakes, and girl, you are doing your thing.
Thank
Like,
you.
for real. Like, these are
Thank
real
you.
fucking, like, celebrity cakes that you buy.
Oh
Like, I'm
wow. Thank
serious. You
you.
got nice, what are they called? Tiers and
Yeah, we
all
could
these
do 2, 3, 4
designs.
tiers.
Yes. So talk about
hmm
it, because you're doing your thing.
Yeah, so I mean, it really all started because I was pregnant with my youngest, and just you get well, you get in like a nesting mode, like, okay, I'm gonna just clean the house, want to do this. So I was kind of in that mode, but I had already did everything. So I'm like, what else can I do? I'm bored, waiting for this baby to come. I'm gonna start making cake. I just decided to start making cake. I've always made cake, just like, I'm gonna make a cake, but I've never decorated a cake to try to make it look, extra fancy or nothing. Like, it just had regular old icing on it and it's done. Right. So that was the part, like the actual baking part wasn't really new. Not that I did it a lot, but I didn't know how. So that part wasn't really new. It was the decorating part, learning how to do the stacked cakes and sculpted cakes and all that stuff. So I just enrolled
Sculpted.
in
That's the word I was
sculpted
looking
cakes.
for.
Yeah,
Sculpt.
like, so
Yeah.
I just started practicing, went to the YouTube University, graduated. I'm not graduated. I'm still enrolled. And just started, subscribing to all these different blogs, of cake makers and artists, and following them and watching what they were doing, and just trial and error. So, I didn't start selling cakes until after I had her. Like, I was pregnant. I started kind of playing with it, whatever, while I was pregnant. I did my own baby shower cake. That was my first stacked cake, 2-tier cake. And it was so funny because like, you're supposed to like put support in the cake so that it doesn't smush into the lower cake, right? I didn't do none of that. Like, I just didn't know what I was doing. So here I am with this cake stacked with literally just a cake on a cake, praying that it don't sink through the whole baby shower. I'm just praying like, okay, it's still okay. It's still okay. So anyway, just trial and error. And I didn't start selling them until after she was born. And even then it was very like, gradual, but it just took off. People loved the taste of my cakes was like the biggest thing. And then, like I said, with time, like my decorating skills have just gotten better and better. Like, I've just been playing with, different techniques and whatnot. And it's just been growing. Like, I just did, last night, I just did a Wolverine cake. I haven't posted that cake yet, but I did the little claws coming out of the top of the cake. I'm super proud. Now, could it be better? It probably could, but the fact that I was able to actually execute it and it looks nice, like it looks good. I'm super happy, So it's just every cake I try to do something that I haven't done before, if I can, like if it's within the order and I'm not just doing some crazy stuff that they didn't ask for. But if I can, then I try to do something different, or I'll just make a cake, at home and just, to try something. I do that often too. So I'll always have cake around, or some cupcakes extra or something, because I'll just, that's the only way to get better. But it's going pretty good though. I'm very happy with it.
I'm excited for you.
Yeah,
I mean, you're super,
thank you.
You've been like that since we were little. You're super creative.
Thank you.
I'm not like creative like that. My creativity, comes in other places, like this right here.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But I've always admired people that were like good writers, good drawers, like you could look at something and create it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Just off of looking, you can imitate it and make it. Like that's great to me.
Yeah.
So anyway, tell everybody where they can come and see your cakes.
You can find me at www.justbesweetcakes.com. You can also follow me on Instagram at justbesweetcakes, or on Facebook at justbesweetcakes. Yep, all of those lead back to this girl right here. So yeah, definitely check out the Instagram page. The Instagram page is like the most up to date, I think, with all my pictures and whatnot. But yeah, and I also I'll put another little plug out there. I do have a book of poetry that I mentioned earlier that's available on Amazon.com. It's called Inside Me, Volume 1. You can just Google my name and it'll pop up.
Thank you for that, because that was my next question. Look
okay.
Well, friend, I love you so much.
I love
you
too.
You so
Thank
much
you for doing this. Thank you for inviting me.
Yes,
absolutely.
And telling your story, because there are so many people that need to hear this.
Yeah, right? It's tough. And and I think this is awesome what you're doing, because I think the common thread is that we always feel like nobody's going to understand. We always feel like we're by ourselves. We always feel like, but nobody's going to understand this. I can't tell them this part. Like, but ultimately we are all literally in the same boat. Like, it's the human condition. It's the human condition. And nobody's above it. Nobody gets to escape it. It is what it is. It might be different for you than for me, but we all have something. Everybody got my mama said that. Everybody got their thing. Like, you can't judge my thing. I can't judge yours. You can't take mine from me. I can't take yours from you. Everybody got something. You know what I mean? So this type of thing helps us grow. It helps the next person just feel okay with who they are. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And I commend you for doing this.
Thank you, Brian.
Absolutely.
I feel like everybody needs to speak their truth and own who they are. Because as you were
Mm-hmm.
saying, everybody's got their thing. This life is challenges. That's how we learn.
That's it. Yeah.
Through problems and challenges. And so my goal is to get people like, oh, okay, this is a problem. This is a damn challenge. Okay, so what are we about to do so that I don't have to so that this doesn't turn into a cycle? So I can go through this challenge and I can learn and I can freaking build, you know. I think that we don't deal with our emotions.
Yeah,
You know
for
what
sure.
I'm saying? We discard them and then throw them away.
We push them down.
And it just keeps piling in and down. And then you keep wondering why all these things are happening to you. And then it's confirmation to you, like, my life is fucked up and it's just going to be fucked up. And that's not true. You're a magnet. So all this stuff that you're bearing, you're going to keep attracting. So we have to release and let in some of that healing so that that's what we're attracting now.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
it's that fortune,
that's it.
What people call luck, miracle.
Yeah,
you know
right.
What I'm saying? That's when we start attracting these things, when we start to release, speak our truth. Yo, this hurt me. This was traumatizing. I was fucking angry for years. I was an angry Black woman. I was bitter. you know, and this is why.
Right.
No, I call it BBS, bitter bitch syndrome, you know.
Man, they need an
antidote. A lot of us have lived it,
antidote. You know? Right. Oh, man. Hell yeah.
So that is the whole purpose of this show, is to and so people, what I want and what I love about everyone telling their story is that people can see the theme and the patterns. You know what I'm saying? People, when you hit rock bottom, you know, the problem is that insurmountable. You fucking hit rock bottom and we let go and let God, so to speak. Like, okay, whatever the fuck happened, I'm done.
Man, yeah, right.
You know what I mean? And then that's when you start to try and venture out, because it's like, I ain't got nothing to lose. Like, this shit right here is fucked up and I want something different. I really like to do XYZ. Let me just try this. I'm about to be bold. I'm about to just jump out here and do it because I have nothing else to lose.
Right.
But I have everything to gain. So like, well, let's, and then that's when we learn our lessons about failure. You know what I'm saying? Right. What the fuck is wrong with failure? Nothing.
Right. Nothing. Right.
It's a learning. It's a stage for you to learn on. That's what failure is. That's what problems are. That's what challenges are. So I want us to get a little bit more gun-ho. Like, and it creates a different trigger. Like for me, myself, stress, anxiety, fear, you know, being scared, having a limited belief, you know what I'm saying? We live in an unlimited environment, time, space, reality, you know?
Right.
And so when I started freaking setting up new triggers, like, oh, okay, this is a problem. I'm a detective. Let's get to No, I'm serious. Like, we'll play these little games with my own brain, you know what I'm saying? So that the brain doesn't shut down. And then the lower minded self comes in. It's like, oh, you can't do that. What makes you think you're gonna do? And I tell myself, yo, the more I do this, the better I get. So let's go with it. You know what I'm saying? And then when I can't figure out what I'm supposed to learn from something, to me, that's the game. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, becoming a detective, the PI. You know, they say
like
we women are natural PIs. You know what I'm saying?
For real.
I investigate the situation, you know? And so that's the theme of these shows. Like I said, thank you so much for telling your story, because you have a very powerful story. And we're going to let you get to those babies. And so tune us out with something. Bye, little mama.
Yeah. She's like, I'm trying to, my mommy. Look at that face. Ooh. Oh, you're okay.
All right, girly girl. Well, we will talk
thank you
soon.
Again. Okay,
all right?
Yes, for sure.
I'm going to end yours.
Okay.
Well, thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of You Thrive Every Day. I appreciate you guys' support. Share these stories, get them out. Our goal is to give messages to the masses so that we as one can become stronger, okay? Once again, you guys have a miraculous day. You guys are loved, and let's talk soon. Dun, dun, dun.